This is Gigi Sabat, and you're listening to the Walk With Me podcast. My guest today is Michael. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Welcome. It's such an honor to have you here today. Now, why don't you start off by telling us more about you and where are you from, Michael?
Well, I'm in Virginia, and I've lived here most of my life. Basically, I wrote a book about the Bible. It starts at the beginning with Genesis. It ends at Revelation. It mostly covers the basics of the Christian message, where we came from, what happened, where we're going. That's kind of it. I mean, the Bible's very repetitive, so a lot of the stories in the Bible go over and over the same message because humans are hard of hearing, apparently. But so I kind of condensed it down into one 420-page book, something like that.
I love it. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Okay, so basically, the Bible is written as what I call a mythical writing style. The mythical writing style is a style of writing where they write mythologies and they write basically, they have a front story like Little Red Riding Hood, and then they have a backstory which is told through the symbols in the story. So all mythology is symbolic. That's what makes it mythology. So you'll have the story of Hercules, and he's doing all these things in the physical world, the 12 trials of Hercules. But then you find out that the 12 trials are actual spiritual trials, and Hercules is working his way through on the journey of the human soul, which is the hero's journey. So mythology relates to the human soul in a very interesting way. The human soul is, according to the Bible, is a dualistic creation. We are part physical, our bodies, the world around us, and we are part spiritual, the breath of life, right? And so mythology addresses both sides of the man's being. One side is literal, it goes right into our heads and we hear the story. And then the other side of the story is symbolic. The symbolic story enters our psyches. I'm not quite sure how it gets processed, but it gets processed in our mind directly. It doesn't go through the brain. So that's what I discovered writing my book, is that mythology teaches us lessons, deep lessons, and it does it by addressing both sides of our psyche. It does it by addressing the conscious, logical left brain side, and it also does maybe the right brain. I'm not sure, but a more of a conceptual consciousness style of understanding through the symbolism in the stories.
I love it. Now, Michael, what message do you have for an individual who's looking to build their relationship or grow their relationship with him?
Okay, so what most people don't understand about the Bible is that it is a handbook to running the human machine. And that's exactly what a religious book should be. It should tell us, how do we work? Uh, why, if life is supposed to be so fun and great all the time, why don't I always feel great? What is wrong inside of me that's making me feel particularly bad today or whatever? The point is that the Bible is a handbook on how the human machine works. You just need to know how to interpret it. So I can go over that with you. Basically, what we do as human beings is we develop what I call a belief system. And the belief system is about basically who we think we are. It's about where we live, who our relatives are, every bit of information that we can collect that defines us as a human being. That goes into our belief system. Other beliefs that we carry are things that we grew up with, right? Things that we learned throughout our life. Every time we have an experience, it's an experience that's different from everybody else's experience because it's our experience. And so that experience goes into the knowledge base of building our belief system, right? The belief system is nothing but program code running on the computer brain. And that determines who we become as people and how we respond to the world around us because it's all computer code. So, what Christianity says is, okay, you've got this big blob of computer code running in your head. It's who you think you are. It's your ego. And now you want to know how to get rid of it because really it does us no good. It does nothing but make us miserable. And so to be in the ego, all of the strife, all the strifes and the trials and tribulations of life are us being ourselves, pretty much, if you think about it. I mean, every time you go into a situation, you can think to yourself, okay, the best way to handle this is just to be quiet and don't say anything. But that's not what we do, right? We know the right course, but we always seem to be programmatically coerced into doing things that we know aren't the best choices, but we still do them anyways because of the program code. We're not in control when the program code is running. So Christianity says, okay, here's how you can get rid of the belief system. Here's how you can go back to where you were as a child, where you didn't really have this big ego that you needed to mess with. So, and that's kind of what my book does. It lays out what the problem is, our belief system, and then it says, this is how we know that the Bible's accurate, basically. And then I go into how we remove the belief system to make it easier to live with. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Now, speaking of choices and decisions, let's circle back to that for a moment. How important is it to be cautious of the decisions that we're making?
You can't make a wrong decision because so you're living. You have to understand. So the human beings that we are programmed machines. That's what we are. There's no free will, at least not in the Bible. What the Bible never talks about there being free will. It's always about predestination because we're living through these kind of a movie, if you think about it, our lives, right? And our job is to have the experience. See, we get caught up in this whole who I am and our egos and so when we get caught up in who we are, we also get caught up in the things of the world. And this has always been a problem with the teachings in early Christianity, getting caught up with the things of the world. How many head of cattle do I have? How much, farm goods do I have stuffed in the barn type of thing. And once you get caught up in the things of the world, then you begin to judge things as good or evil. And that's where people get kind of caught up. You need to pull yourself out of your own ego, your own human programming code, and realize we're not here for the things of life. We're here for the experience of life. And that means not everything's going to be a wonderful experience, but it's going to be an experience nonetheless. And that really is the gift that God has given us, is this experience of life, not the things in the world.
I love it. Very powerful and very true. Michael, tell us a little bit more about some of the challenges that you had to overcome in your life.
Well, good Lord. But how far back do I got to go? I remember when I was like 3 years old, Gigi, and I remember I fell down, smashed my face up. That was a terrible challenge as a 3-year-old. Um, Everything's been a challenge for me. Nothing's been easy for me. I I mean, I had goals in my life, and by the grace of God, I met a lot of them, and I feel myself to be very fortunate to have had the opportunities I had. But gosh, I don't know if there's anybody out there that's had a life that's been easy. I mean, I think we all struggle. But it's always an uphill road, and it's always turning, and you get around the next turn, and it's another uphill way to go. You go, wait a minute, like I don't know about you, Gigi. I'm about 70 years old almost, and I'm like, shouldn't this stuff like let up after a while? I mean, I got that much longer to go, for crying out loud. Why is this going on in my life? So I think we come down here. I mean, I have some ideas, but the Bible's not very explicit on this. But we struggle. That's what we do. We come here to have a life where we struggle. And so, then the Bible's pretty good about telling us that. So if we're here to have this struggle, there's some sort of universal purpose to it. There's some thing to be gained from it. That's all I can imagine. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but yeah, struggle. I struggle every day.
That's very true. And like you said, many of us have faced our challenges, and challenges are inevitable, right? But it's what are you going to do, right? When those things do happen. Are you going to give up, or are you going to give it to him, right? Because he wants to meet us where we are. Very important. Now, Michael, what last words do you have? Do you have any last words for the audience?
Yeah, buy my book. I think you'll love it. It's like I say, we are in dire need of a handbook for the human machine. How does this human machine work? And that's what my book does. It looks at the Bible and it says this is how the Bible is describing how the machine works, how we're supposed to operate it, and what we can do to steer the course of our lives through prayer and meditation, not through direct action mostly.
I
How
love
about
it.
that?
I love it. Now, Michael, where can the audience find you?
Okay, so I have a website. It's Michael underscore McPadden.com. I'm on Amazon. If you look for my book, Genesis to Revelation, um, under Michael McPadden, you'll find it on Amazon. I have a YouTube channel, which is Genesis to Rev, and I have a Rumble channel, Genesis to Rev, and I put videos up there about once a week on the various topics in my book. I think they're wonderful, of course.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for being a guest on the Walk With Me podcast. It's been such an honor to have you here today. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Michael on all of his social media platforms and his website. And Michael, again, thanks so much, and God bless you.
God bless you, Gigi. Thank you so much.
Welcome.